With Scream being such a success and making over $170 million at the box office, it began to inspire others to follow along and kick off the slasher subgenre once again, with movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer already coming out. Dimension Films knew it needed a sequel, and lucky for them, Kevin Williamson already had a sequel written. They managed to bring back Wes Craven and all of the cast they needed for a part 2, and were able to release it in just under a year after the first film. And there will be spoilers, so like the first one, this is not a movie you want to be spoiled for you. But today, I'll be telling y'all why Scream 2 is still self-aware brilliance. The movie starts with two college kids, Maureen and Phil, going to watch this new movie called Stab. It's a movie about Gale Weathers' book about what happened in Woodsboro and has some copycat scenes from the original Scream, but with different actors, of course. Maureen doesn't want to watch the movie because
it's a dumbass white movie about some dumbass white girls getting their white asses cut the fuck up.
They get into the theater and it's lit. They passed out Ghostface costumes and glowing knives for all the moviegoers. Shit, I'ma need a time machine because theaters are nothing like this nowadays. You can't even get some popcorn with your movie without taking out a mortgage. Phil got a piss, and he's obviously got some big balls because there's hella ghost faces taking up the urinals that shoot him some creepy looks. So he heads to the stall, where he hears some freaky shit going on in the stall next to him, and apparently he's still because he leans in for a better listen when, oh shit, it's the real Ghostface, and he stabs Phil through the stall into his ear. Damn, what a gnarly kill. Oh, also, this is the cliche way to go about horror. As it is told, the black guy always dies first. Ghostface puts on Phil's outfit and goes to sit next to Maureen. Maureen notices some blood on her boyfriend's coat, and amid the chaos in the theater, she is stabbed in the gut and gets up on stage for what looks like a performance to the moviegoers as she screams her life away, literally. We cut to Sydney, who's all grown up. Can't you tell by her new haircut? She goes to Windsor College in Ohio, where she is used to answering prank phone calls and lives with her friend Hallie. On TV, Sydney sees Cotton Wary soaking up every bit of fame he can from being wrongfully imprisoned, and also on TV sees the news about Maureen and Phil. Sydney goes to find Randy, who also goes to college with Sydney and is kinda looking like a pedo with this new facial hair. Of course, he's a film major where they ironically discuss how sequels suck.
Stab 2? Who'd want to do that? Sequels suck.
Him, Mickey, Cece, and other classmates debate on whether some sequels are better than the originals and name some horror films such as Aliens, Terminator 2, Terminator, and House 2: The Second Story. Come on guys, why not name the obvious and say any of the Friday the 13th sequels up to Jason Takes Manhattan? We also learn here that Randy still has a crush on Sydney.
I'd let the geek get the girl.
But too bad for him, she already got another boyfriend, Derek, who looks a little too much like Billy Loomis from the first movie. Derek shows Randy why he can't have Sydney, and the media is at the school due to the recent murders, and that means, you guessed it, Gale motherfucking Weathers. She's got another cameraman named Joel and also is rude to her fans, one named Debbie Salt.
Begin quote. Great. Your flattering remarks are both desperate and obvious. End quote.
The Delta Lambda girls come up to invite Sydney to their cocktail party later that night, and also her roommate who is pledging for them. These women here have an accumulative 5 brain cells between them, especially Murphy, who is written as a stereotypical blonde woman. Now Sydney notices Dewey is here, and she's excited to see him, as is he, and the two catch up as they rekindle their brother-sister-like relationship. And Dewey tells her that the killer is most likely someone already in her life, something we find out he is not wrong about later on. Gale tries to sneakily set up a face-to-face interview for publicity between Cotton Weary and Sydney, and once again, deservingly, gets her shit rocked.
Oh, Sydney, share with us, please. I'll share with you.
And there's also this funny-ass dialogue between Hallie and Joel.
Did you get that on film?
Yes, I got that on film.
Gale is happy to see Dewey has arrived on campus, but he doesn't want anything to do with her after what she said about him in her book.
Page 32. Deputy Dewey filled the room with his Barney Fife-ish presence.
He tells her to leave Sydney alone before he gets angry and he oozes off.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some oozing to do.
Sid and Hallie arrive at the sorority party, and the sisters Murphy and Lois are happy to see them, with Murphy using only half her brain once again.
Hi! No, I really mean that.
Cece is alone at the sorority house, being the sober sister for the night, when she gets a call, and you never guess who it is.
Who's Ted?
That's right, it's Ghostface, and he's interrupting her movie night where she is tuned into Nosferatu from 1922. Damn, Cece, you got some taste. She's on the phone with her friend when she hears noises upstairs, and while she checks it out, her friend taunts her with Jason Voorhees references.
Hello? Stop it!
She goes outside while calling campus security, and while the phone struggles to connect, she is jump scared by her friend Donnie, who left the door open, allowing Ghostface to sneak in. Didn't know you had that Pink Panther in you, Ghostface. After Donnie leaves, Cece is back on the phone with Ghostface before she hangs up to examine the house. And then Mr. Ghostface calls back again, but this time it's a distraction as he hops out of the closet in the return of another Benny Hill type of chase scene that before Ghostface does his classic slip and fall over multiple objects. Wait, is that a bike in the house? The chase ends with Cece being stabbed in the back and then thrown off the balcony, killing her as a banger comes on that I cannot play for copyright reasons. Back at the party, Mickey is still thinking about film class as he flirts with who I could never figure out if Hallie was his girlfriend or not. But hey, who even knows? Everyone from the party leaves to go check out the crime scene after police arrive. Debbie Salt is there to get the details, and Gail luckily arrives to confirm.
It's happening again, isn't it?
Also here, Dewey roasts Gail a little about being a fame-seeking reporter.
Better hurry, Gail. Might get scooped.
Actually, I don't know, maybe he's still thinking about ice cream. Joel starts to question if working for Gail is worth it anymore, as he mentions Faces of Death.
I was brought here to do an interview, not Faces of Death 14.
Do not fuck with me.
Meanwhile, Sydney goes inside to get her jacket when she hears the phone ring, and she can't decide if she wants to answer it or not, but ultimately picks it up and it's Ghostface calling, who then shuts the door and pops out, chasing Sydney, but this time not for too long, as she escapes out the back door. Her boyfriend goes in to confront the killer, and Dewey arrives soon after, finding Derek cut, and at the hospital, after Mickey has a creepy chat with Sydney, they decide it's a little weird that Derek conveniently didn't puncture any major veins. Police Chief Hartley writes the victims on a chalkboard. Oh, classic use of the chalkboard to solve a mystery here. Gail notices that all of the victims have a similarity with victims from Woodsboro, proving that there is a copycat trying to duplicate the Woodsboro murders. Now the sheriff has his best two detectives following Sydney around everywhere she goes. And after a badly timed joke,
How am I ever gonna get you alone?
Sydney tells Derek he should stay away for his own safety. Yeah, right, Sydney. For his own good. Not still thinking about Billy or anything. While walking past the press, Debbie Salt asks Gail if she thinks Dewey is the killer. And at lunch, Mickey accuses Randy as being the killer before Derek breaks out into a singing performance that goes on for probably longer than I would have liked. And then Derek gives his Greek letters from his fraternity to Sydney, a supposedly big no-no in the frat world. Now Dewey and Randy meet for lunch, and man, Randy's new look just throws me off so much, I can't deal with it. A scene from Stab is on the TV, and Billy is played by that one guy from Zombieland Double Tap and Bong Water. I don't know why, but it's just so funny to me that Luke Wilson is playing Billy in Stab. Randy explains the rules of horror sequels. He says, rule number 1, the body count is always bigger. Rule number 2, the deaths are much more elaborate and bloody.
Carnage candy.
And rule number 3,
If you want your sequel to become a franchise, never, ever...
How do we find the killer, Randy? That's what I want to know.
I guess we'll never know.
Randy states the obvious that Derek is a suspect, but not Mickey, because that would mean that him and Dewey are also suspects. They say Hallie would be a fun suspect because of Mrs. Voorhees and Candyman's daughter. Dewey agrees Gail is vicious enough to be the killer and it would help her career. Oh yeah, I mean, Gail is a bitch. They also mention Dewey's goofy limp. The limp just adds another layer to Dewey's silliness. It makes me laugh every time. Joel tells Gail she's crazy for trying to examine these murders, and he also mentions a horror cliche explored at the beginning of the movie.
Besides, brothers don't last long in situations like this.
Sydney tries to quit her lead role in the school's play, but her professor Gus talks her into staying, and while rehearsing, she's attacked by Ghostface, but her screaming stops the play, scaring him, or her, or them away. But when she goes backstage to debrief, Derek shows up. How convenient. Sydney then breaks up with Derek, unable to trust her new boyfriend after what happened to her with Billy Loomis. While sitting around talking about the murders, Gail, Dewey, and Randy get a call from Ghostface.
Have you ever felt a knife cut through human flesh and scrape the bone beneath?
He reveals he is watching them, so the three try to figure out who it is by taking the phone of everyone using one. Dewey even comes in with that RKO. Ghostface taunts Randy while he is standing in front of Gale's van, and right when he starts to bash Stu and Billy, he is pulled into the van where Ghostface was hiding and is stabbed to death. Very suspicious. Sydney gets a spooky message on her computer in the library, and while she is left alone so the detectives can see who sent the message, Sydney is low-key assaulted by Cotton Weary, who really wants her to join him on an interview about the wrong accusations with Diane Sawyer. But Sydney says no. I mean, come on, Sydney. We're talking about
fucking Diane Sawyer.
Cotton, just like Gale, is another representation of the issue that Scream explores of people doing anything for some fame. Cotton is arrested but is let go because he didn't commit a crime unless...
You've definitely got me for raising my voice in a public library.
Joel tells Gale he quits because, well, he's actually fucking smart. He hops in a cab and gets the fuck out. Gale is angry by this and while walking away is approached by Debbie Salt, and she just goes in on her.
I know that you hold me up as your career template, and it gives you some sort of charge to challenge me, but give it a rest.
Gale finally gets through to Dewey, and he trusts her again because she
Just want to find this fucker.
And doesn't care about her fame anymore, supposedly. I mean, if you say so, Gale. They realize they have crowd footage from earlier, so they take it up to the film room for a closer look, hoping to see who is behind that damn Ghostface mask. Gale and Dewey officially make up and say sorry to each other, and that makes them a little horny, so they stop for a quick makeout break before the footage is interrupted by a different set of footage that Joel didn't film, so they stop their freakiness. But hey, Dewey knows what he came here for. The footage turns into a live feed of them in the film room, and when they turn around, catch Ghostface red-handed. Silly Ghostface. Dewey goes to find Ghostface with his goofy-ass limp, and I just can't take him seriously moving up those stairs like a three-legged cat. However, as he limps his way up the stairs, Ghostface appears behind Gale and attacks her. What the fuck, did this motherfucker just teleport? In yet another sweet-ass Benny Hill type chase scene, Ghostface chases Gale and Dewey follows. Gale and Dewey are unknowingly next to each other behind a wall, and when Gale finally notices it, Dewey is stabbed by Ghostface. She runs into the hall, right into Cotton, who she assumes is a killer, then runs outside to tell Debbie Salt.
Killer is Cotton fucking Weary. Cotton Weary.
Derek says bye to Sydney as she hops in the detective's car with Hallie, and when they leave, he is scooped up and hazed by his frat members for giving the letters to Sydney. Yeah, but when I stick my dick in a beer can, I'm a weirdo. Hallie asks where the detectives are bringing them, and
We tell you, we'll have to kill you.
then, at a red light, the detectives show us why they are the chief's top two guys as the car stops and Ghostface appears to punch through the car window and slits the driver's throat. Ghostface then drives the boat while the other detective tries to shoot him, but Ghostface crashes him into some poles and kills him in a sick-ass Final Destination type of kill. With Ghostface passed out and the other three doors unable to be opened, Sydney and Hallie are forced to crawl over Ghostface to escape the vehicle in a very suspenseful scene. I just wanted someone to spank me during this scene. It was super uneasy. Also, while crawling over Ghostface, she tries to unmask him, but accidentally hits the horn and is forced to abandon mission.
Don't. Sid.
After running down the road with Hallie, Sydney realizes she needs to unmask him, or her, or them. But when she gets there, he's gone! Ghostface then appears behind Hallie and kills her. Sydney runs into the theater and sees Derek still tied to the Greek thingy from his beer fucking events and starts to untie him. As she tries to do so, Ghostface appears and unmasks himself, revealing that Mickey was the killer all along, who does his best Stu impression.
Surprise, Sydney.
Mickey says that Derek was his partner in a pretty funny dialogue.
Boyfriend, killer, boyfriend, killer.
Derek pleads with Sydney that he's lying, but right when she backs off, Mickey shoots Derek straight through the chest. Damn, he ain't coming back. Mickey lectures Sydney about her trust issues.
You should really deal with your trust issues, Sid. I mean, poor Derek. He's completely innocent. He's such a nice boy, too.
And then says how he is different from Billy because he plans on getting caught. He's going to say he was influenced by the Stab movie, and that would hold up for him in court. Sydney taps into her inner badass that she left off on from last movie and slices Mickey's face with the necklace that Derek gave her earlier. Damn, that's why those frat motherfuckers got so upset when he gave it to her. This thing gotta be made out of straight silver, no way it cut through some flesh. But hey, I don't know, maybe I'm just used to wearing those Temu necklaces that turn your neck green. Sydney and Mickey play some hide and seek behind a pillar in a funny ass scene. As Mickey is pointing the gun at Sydney, Derek is pulled out of frame and Mickey starts to hype up who his real partner is.
Could that be the mystery guest waiting in the wings?
And it's Gale Weathers! Psych, it's Debbie Salt, or
Mrs. Loomis?
Mrs. Loomis wants to avenge her son Billy by killing Sydney and hired Mickey online. Damn, Craigslist has gone wild, I guess. However, she shoots Mickey because
Poor boy was completely out of his mind.
she didn't think his plan would work, and after getting shot, Mickey lets off a shot at Gale's stomach, knocking her off the stage. Mrs. Loomis does a great wide-eyed job at being the killer, but says the blame is not on her. Instead,
You want to blame someone? Why don't you blame your mother?
Sydney tricks Mrs. Loomis to look away, and while she does, hits her with this glass bottle before disappearing backstage, where she grabs a red axe off the wall in a peephole scene that has to be referencing something, but I just don't know. So, if you know, drop it down in the comments below. Sydney starts to play cut the rope with the equipment for the play as it falls to hit Mrs. Loomis. Mrs. Loomis finally grabs a hold of Sydney and holds her hostage as Cotton appears with a gun and has a polite exchange with Mrs. Loomis. Cotton doesn't know who to kill because he wants what is best for him and eventually talks Sydney into the Diane Sawyer interview, considering the circumstances.
Consider it done.
Cotton shoots Mrs. Loomis and kills her.
That was intense.
Sydney states how the killer always comes back as they look over Mrs. Loomis.
I don't know. They always come back.
But instead, it's Mickey who comes back for one last scare, but it's shot the fuck up. Damn, they put a whole clip in his ass.
Whoa!
Sydney shoots Mrs. Loomis in the head again because, well,
Just in case.
Gale hops in the ambulance with Dewey, who is somehow still alive, and the movie ends with Sydney sending all of the reporters that wanted to know her 2 cents on the situation over to Cotton, who she tells them is the real hero, so he can finally get his fame.
There is a time and a place, and indeed a price for everything, so feel free to call me.
Or is it money he wanted? No, just kidding, there's no cheesy cliche horror jump scare, that's still from the first movie. Not many sequels can say they succeeded with an audience in the way that Scream 2 has. Some people have this movie as their favorite in the franchise, and although it's not mine, I can still see why some people say that, and why this movie was so successful. First off, nothing changed from the cast of main characters for the most part, as most of these characters are survivors from the first movie. With having Sydney, Gale, Randy, Dewey, and Cotton back, there was no real risk to the acting as we already know this group of people know how to succeed. I love how they followed their own rules for sequels from what Randy was saying as we got more and gorier kills this time around. I love the twist at the end and how they utilized Mrs. Loomis to make the killer have a revenge motive, even though I must say my only negative for this movie is having Mickey as the killer because I kinda forgot he was in the movie. It felt like a last-ditch effort to throw him in there. And I believe not having Cotton as a killer was a missed opportunity for the franchise, but apparently that was the original plan before some hackers leaked the OG script online and they were forced to change the killer last minute, hence why Mickey made the cut. Also, the comedy isn't as strong as the first movie with it having an overall more serious tone, but it makes up for it with the kills and gore, so I'm not complaining. Other than that, Scream 2 is a great sequel that keeps the same charm of self-awareness and comedy that lures in horror fans with its poking fun at its own genre once again. Although I still prefer the first movie, I still think that Scream 2 is one of my all-time favorites and one that I believe is still self-aware brilliance. Let me know your thoughts on this movie and any other videos you would like to see next down in the comments below. Please drop a like and hit that subscribe button or Ghostface will throw you off a balcony. Thank you so much for watching and have a blessed day. Peace!